Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and my space. For those of you who are new, my name is Racquel. Welcome. I'm so glad to have you here. For those of you who are returning, thank you for clicking on another one of my videos. I am happy that you came back for my Spooky Stories Sundays. And, I have been talking about the Napier house, this house that I lived in, that my best friend ended up living in. She lived in it before I even met her. But anyways, those were the past two Spooky Story Sundays that I did here. You can find them on my channel if you want to go look that up if you're into spooky stories and spiritual and demonic and other crazy, freaky stories. Yeah. So go ahead and go look those up. They're a little freaky. But today I wanted to take a break from the Napier house. I will give you updates on that because there is more. I'm still dealing with that energy. I got things coming up with that energy. So, that, how they say that Mercury retrograde brings things back from the past? Well, we just came off a Mercury retrograde. So let's just say my past came back up. So anyway, I'm going to do a future video on that. So if you are invested in that story, this story or what I'm saying here today has nothing to do with that, but I will be putting out more Napier house stories later on in the future. This is actually kind of controversial, and some of you are going to think I'm a loon because I do believe in stuff that, most people don't believe in. But that's because ever since I was very little, I have always had a connection to other realms or dimensions. I've always had stuff pop up in this dimension, in my physical reality, from other dimensions. So when the topic of the Fae comes up, does anybody know? Do you know what the Fae is? Let me know in the comment section below. But the Fae is not just fairies, okay? It's not just those little things that Disney has with the wings and they look like little humans. There is a subspecies that's like that, pixies or whatnot. I believe the right name for that is pixies. But the Fae encompass a bunch of beings, like from gnomes to elves to just, there's many different classifications of them, and I am getting into studying them a little bit more now, but because I do want to do some videos later on in the future about that, but I wanted to bring up this thing that happened to me. I was 7 years old, okay, and I am interested in hearing your comments on this. It's okay if you don't believe it. It's okay if you think I'm a loon. But for those who do believe it, please keep your comments nice. Do not knock them if they comment below. This is a positive channel. I do not want any negativity on my channel. So, that all being said, I didn't always believe in the Fae. I did not always believe in the Fae, despite what I saw when I was little, okay? As I got older, you're told these things don't exist and da-da-da-da-da. But that brings me from what happened when I was 7 to what has happened in my recent reality, being today, okay? So, I am that person that believes in the paranormal. I believe that there are unbelievable things in this world because a lot of us don't have our minds open to the things that are going on in our reality, okay? We believe in what we can see naturally as human beings. That's what we are taught. If you see it, you believe it. If you can't see it and there's no solid, tangible evidence, it's not real, okay? So that's what we are conditioned to believe growing up. And even though I've always been a very spiritual person, I've always believed in ghosts because I've always seen ghosts. See what you believe, right? And I've always felt energy. So I know that energy exists because I can feel it, right? However, I, however, was not big into fairies and elves and gnomes and stuff like that. That of fantasy, okay? I like the concept. I've always liked the concept of fantasy and stuff, but I never actually truly believed in the fae. Which is weird because of what happened to me when I was 7, but now recent events have happened that have made me open up more and understand and realize that the fae, they are real. They are in a different dimension of ours that coincides right next to us. So they are on this planet, but they are on a different dimension in this planet. All right, on this planet. But when I was younger, I had this freaky, terrifying experience. And not all interactions with the Fae are positive and good. Not all interactions are. All right? That just like humans, there are good Fae and there are bad Fae. All right? Just like, in our reality, there's good animals, there's bad animals. There's good people, there's bad people. It's just how the way it works. You have to have good and bad to balance out. Okay? So, when I was little, I lived in this little townhome complex. My mom and my stepdad, we had a townhouse. And this townhouse, behind it, there was a big hill, and then the hill stooped down, and there was this river, or this creek that ran. And we always used to play down by the creek and stuff like that. But it is known that in areas where there is a lot of water, or in areas where there are a lot of mounds or a lot of hills, fairy activity or fae activity can be high in these areas. And especially to people who are very open. Like, I have always been very open. I'm a very open-minded person. So, this is why I believe I had this encounter. Now, I got sick with the flu really, really bad. Really, really bad. Now, I do want to hop back a couple of beats ago. Okay, so when we moved into this townhome, I never liked my room. Never liked my room. 7 years old, I used to go into my brother's room, my brothers were much younger than I was, and I would go into their room and sleep in their room because I was scared of my own room. And my parents, they never really let us hop in bed with them. So I always went to my own room, or to my brother's room, because that room just freaked me out. I can sense energy, and the energy was off in that room. So, one night I fell really ill, or one day I fell really ill. I had the flu really bad, and my mother at the time did not want my brothers to catch what I had. So she quarantined me to my own room. All right, she quarantined me to my own room. And I remember lying there in bed. And I think did I tell the story? I don't know if I told the story or if I told it in a recent video or whatever. So if I am retelling the story, please let me know in the comment section below. I need to keep a checklist or something. But anyway, so she quarantined me to my own room. And it was a nice room. I had my Little Mermaid bedspread and my Little Mermaid fish tank and my little lights and stuff, I very rarely hung out in that room, but I was in that room because I was quarantined. And it was like around 12 o'clock, the in-between hour. And I woke up to a bunch of whispering in my ear. And I opened my eyes and there was a ton of people around me. Now, these are ghosts. These were ghosts. I saw them as ghosts. They were people, okay? And they were in like colonial type garb. Like the women had like the the hat, and the men had the top hats or whatever. And that was ghost activity. That all fine and dandy, right? But I screamed. I screamed so loud. My mom came running in. They vanished, okay? The ghost vanished. She checked my temperature, and I was really hot. So she went to go run me a bath. And as she's running me a bath, I'm laying there looking at my ceiling, just like in misery. And then all of a sudden, I see these little white lights, and they were white, they were blue, they were purple, they were flying and fluttering all around me, and I heard more whispering, but this whispering was different from the whispering that had woken me up. This was more of like a soft musical like whispering in my ear. And I had no idea what was going on, but it was kind of comforting. It was like they were there comforting me, so this wasn't really scary. The next experience is scary, but this wasn't really scary. It was kind of comforting, kind of soothing to me. It kind of felt like they were telling me I was going to be all right. I think she did end up taking me to the hospital for that, but long story short, so we're getting on to maybe a couple of months later after this happened. I was playing downstairs in my basement, and we had a huge basement. My dad made an extra room down there for his projection thing because he was like big movie buff. But I was playing downstairs, and I can't remember if my brother was with me or not. I'll have to ask him because it was so long ago, but I don't think he was there. Pretty sure he wasn't there. I'm pretty sure I was by myself. And I was down there, and I looked off into the corner, and I saw this, like, it looked like a gnome-like thing. And it didn't have a hat, but it was like the size of it, and it was like kind of like, it was like about yay big. And it had red eyes, and it was like looking at me, and it was like going like this and say, and it scared the crap out of me. I booked it up them steps. I told my mother about this. I told her. She said that it was my wild imagination, that there's nothing like that in the basement. But I was just there. I was playing with my Barbies, and I looked up, and there was this thing that looked like a gnome. It didn't have a hat. It had like a rounded head, but it didn't have a hat. It looked like a gnome though. And it was going, it was like, almost like troll-like, I want to say. But it scared me. It scared me. And I told my mom about this. She did not believe me. Come to find out, when I was about 15 or 16, I would go out ghost hunting with my friends, and I'd come home, and my mom would be like, oh, that's just, well, one night when I had come home, she was a little bit tipsy, and we were sitting there, we were hanging out at the table, and she told me about a time when we used to live in that townhouse, that she woke up this was around the time we were getting ready to move from the townhouse. We were going to go down and live in Florida, but my stepdad had to go down to Florida first to set it up, so we were at the town. Maybe he was away out of business. I think he went down there to because it wasn't like he was down there forever. He was down there for like a weekend or something like that, but he wasn't home. And my mom, she got woken up around 12 in the in-between hours. Now, there is a thing where they say, the Fey realm, the Fey dimension, it exists in the in-between. So, like 12, that's in between night and day. 12 in the afternoon, that's in between the afternoon and the morning. So like anything with like the in between times, or like in between door jams. If you go out in nature and you see a tree that's like that, it's in between tree. That's how they get into this world. It's like an access to them, and water. But anyways, so it was like around 12. She said she woke up because there was like a gnome, or like gremlin, like troll, like gnome, like looking thing looking at her going, and it was like it was going to get her, right? And she said she flew up out of that bed. She ran around the thing, ran downstairs, and called my aunt and told my aunt, I can't stay here. We've got to leave. She actually ran out of the room, woke us up, took us downstairs, called my aunt. My aunt came over. We ended up going over to my aunt's house and spending the night at my aunt's house that night. But she said it was like almost like the mix between a troll and a gnome. And it was looking at her and going, like it was like it was on the floor, and then it like jumped up onto her bed, and she flew up and flew out of there. But I find it interesting that like after she told me that, I said, Mom, why then did you tell me I was imagining something when I was playing in the basement and that thing was there? And she said, honestly, because I did not know what to do about it. And I didn't want to worry you or panic you about it. So in that little townhome, community, I believe that, they're active where there's creeks and there's mounds. And I believe that just that area in general housed them. And what brings me to my next thing is that they say, and what's funny is it happened to me when I was like 7 or 8. This, how do I explain it? Okay, so like this transits that we're going through in the sky, it brings back past energies, past things from your past, and brings them to the forefront. I've been living in this house for 7 years. This house that I'm in at right now. 7 years. We have a well. We have an underground stream. I live around lakes everywhere around me. There's lakes. Like there's a lake within 5 minutes in every direction of me, different lakes. And underneath, I heard that there is underground streams that connect all these lakes, right? I have a well. And it taps into those underground streams. Now I have noticed like my backyard is more musical or more whimsical. Like I got ivy growing everywhere. I've got, my backyard is beautiful in the summer and spring months, in the spring and summer months. But so recently, it should have told me about it. Like when I first moved into this house, before I do recently, when I first moved into this house, I was coming to turn on the air, the heater, because we were moving in the next day. We were moving in the winter time, and I walked down into the basement to get my son from the basement because he went down there. And as soon as I got to like the second step, I had to dip under because we have this thing called a Michigan basement. You gotta dip under when you go down. And there's this crawl space that sits directly across from the stairs. Okay, so it's like, it's your height when you get down there, but then like up here, it has a crawl space. Okay, so as I'm walking down, I look right directly at that crawl space, and an image popped into my mind of this like long, like elven like type thing coming out of the crawl space, and it was like going like that as it was crawling out, and it had this big old grin on its face, and it terrified me. I scooped up my son, me and my sister left, and I said, I don't know if I want to live there because That just terrified the crap out of me. Come to find out, with doing some of my research and how, how fairies are, where fairies live, how they come into our world, and what some of them look like, I'm pretty sure that was a fae. That was one of the fae. It was probably an elf or an elven-like creature, but it scared the crap out of me. So, present time, 7 years later. All right, so I'm in my bed at night, and I'm laying there, and my husband was in the garage, and I'm just laying there in bed, and the lights are off, wanting to go to sleep. This was like a couple of months ago. I want to say it was a little bit after Christmas time, and I'm laying there in bed, and I open my eyes, and here is the thing from the crawl space standing right in front of me. Couldn't move, couldn't scream, couldn't do nothing but like stare directly at this thing that came through the crawl space when I first moved into this house. And it's just looking at me, and it's got a big old creepy smile, like on its face, and it's looking at me. And I told it to go away. It went away. But it did give me the chills. It did give me the goosebumps. And now more and more that I think about it, I think that I have that in my house. Also, they are known to pick things up and misplace things, take things from you, and return it later. I had a safe key to my safe that I know for a fact, we have these cinder blocks that are stacked up really tall in our basement. You know how the cinder blocks have those little round thing? I know for a fact that I had my safe key. It was in one of my pants pockets, and I went to go put it up there just until I was done doing the laundry. But as soon as I put it up there, I heard it tinkle, 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 tinkle all the way down to the bottom. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to get that because these cinder blocks are stacked with mortar, so you can't move them. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to get that. So for months and months and months on end, me and my husband were using his safe key to get into the safe. We weren't using mine because mine had up and ran. Our fire safe, like our important documents and stuff like that. So, long story short, I think it was November, that key turned up in the middle of my bedroom on the floor. So they kind of helped me out. Like, so I think I got a mixture between good and bad here. But let me know your thoughts and your opinions about the Fae. Have you had any encounters with them? If you have, I would love to know. Have you had any creepy encounters with anything like a gremlin or like a gnome, hobgoblin, whatever? Pixie, did you ever see them when you were little? There are stories about kids going missing or kids falling into comas after they said that they talked to the Fae. This Fae world is a very complex and dangerous world as well because their rules are a lot more different than our rules. Their codes of ethics are a lot different than our codes of ethics. Like, we say thank you, we say please, we have manners like that, whereas to them, they take those offensively because they feel like it should come from your heart. But it's like different. Our worlds are like different. I know I'm probably going to lose subscribers off of this because I am talking about fairy. Like, come on, how many people believe in Fae? But I do highly believe in them because now I do because of the certain events that have taken place within my home these past couple of months. It's like, when I first moved in, I didn't think that was Fae at all. I thought that was something else, and I did not want to be here. But after researching what it looked like, and researching what's around me and what the realm is, I'm gotta say I'm kind of starting to believe a little bit in it now. Let me know what your thoughts and opinions are in the comment section below. This is getting kind of lengthy. I hope you enjoyed this Spooky Story Sunday. If you have any spooky stories of your own that you would like me to relay on my channel, you can remain anonymous. All the information is in the description box below. Just send me an email. I will get in contact with you and we will take it from there. Alrighty, I hope you all have an amazing week. Please stay safe within lieu of what's going on right now. Make sure you wash your hands. Keep your toilet paper. No, I'm just joking. I hope you all have an amazing week, and be kind to each other, be kind to yourselves, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, bye.